A cautionary tale of cultural respect and personal growth. Karen, a small-town bakery worker from the Midwest, had dreamed of visiting London her entire life. After years of saving, she finally stood outside Buckingham Palace, marveling at the iconic royal guards in their striking red tunics and bearskin hats. Like many American tourists, she was fascinated by their stoic demeanor and wondered if they would ever react to the crowd's antics. But when someone unexpectedly tapped her shoulder in the bustling square, Karen's instincts took over. In a moment of panic, she reached for the 2-ounce pepper spray canister she always carried for safety and sprayed it directly at a guard's face. The consequences were immediate and severe. The guard, trained to remain perfectly still no matter the provocation, coughed and staggered, a shocking breach of protocol. Security swarmed in, and Karen realized too late that she had committed a serious offense under British law. Unlike U.S. security personnel, the Queen's Guard symbolizes centuries of tradition. Interfering with them can lead to fines or even arrest. What followed was a humbling journey of accountability. Karen apologized in person to the guard, acknowledging her reckless mistake. She then volunteered with London tourism groups, educating visitors on royal etiquette to prevent similar incidents. Back home, she shared her story openly, not to excuse her actions, but to highlight the importance of cultural awareness. Her honesty resonated, sparking conversations about respect, fear, and the power of redemption. For older American travelers, Karen's story is a poignant reminder. The world's wonders come with unwritten rules. Researching local customs, staying calm in unfamiliar settings, and owning up to mistakes can transform a trip from disastrous to meaningful. As Karen learned, the greatest adventures aren't just about the places we see, they're about growing wiser through our missteps. A life-changing lesson at Buckingham Palace. How one American tourist learned the true meaning of respect. Karen had spent her entire life dreaming of visiting London. As a small-town bakery worker from Ohio, she'd saved for years to make this trip happen. When she finally stood before Buckingham Palace, she was mesmerized by the iconic royal guards in their scarlet tunics and towering bearskin hats. Like many American tourists, she watched with fascination as visitors playfully tried to make the stoic guards react, waving hands, making funny faces, even pretending to poke them. The guards remained perfectly still, as immovable as the palace itself. Everything changed in one fateful moment. Startled by an unexpected tap on her shoulder in the crowded square, Karen's instincts took over. Without thinking, she reached for the small 2-ounce pepper spray canister she always carried, a habit from back home, and sprayed it directly at a guard's face. The effect was immediate and shocking. The guard, who had stood motionless through countless provocations, suddenly coughed and staggered, his eyes streaming. Karen instantly realized her terrible mistake. Unlike security personnel in America who might respond to threats, these royal guards are bound by centuries of tradition to remain impassive no matter what. Her panicked reaction had violated not just palace protocol, but British law. Interfering with the Queen's Guard can result in serious legal consequences. What followed became a profound lesson. In accountability, after being detained and questioned, Karen didn't make excuses. She requested, and was granted, a chance to personally apologize to the guard she'd sprayed. Face to face in a quiet palace room, she saw the human being behind the ceremonial uniform. "I understand now," she told him through tears. "I was scared, but that's no excuse." Determined to make amends, Karen spent the rest of her trip volunteering with London tourism groups, helping educate visitors about proper behavior around royal sites. She shared her story openly online and with fellow travelers, not for sympathy, but as a cautionary tale. "I want others to learn from my mistake," she wrote in a widely read blog post. For mature American travelers, Karen's experience offers several important lessons. First, cultural research is essential. What seems like harmless fun at home, like joking with security personnel, might be deeply disrespectful abroad. The royal guards aren't just ceremonial. They're active military personnel upholding traditions dating back to 1660. Second, panic clouds judgment. Karen's fear response overrode her normally cautious nature. Travelers should practice situational awareness while remaining calm in crowded tourist spots. Most importantly, true growth comes from owning our mistakes. Karen could have returned home embarrassed and silent. Instead, she turned her error into an opportunity to educate others, demonstrating remarkable character. Now, years later, Karen's story has become something positive, a teaching moment about cultural sensitivity that resonates particularly with older travelers who value respect and personal responsibility. That single moment at Buckingham Palace didn't ruin her trip. It transformed her into a more thoughtful global citizen. As she often says, the best souvenirs aren't things. They're the lessons that change how we see the world. The transformative power of a travel mistake, how pepper spraying a royal guard changed one woman's life. Karen's story begins like so many American travel dreams. A small-town woman from Indiana, having saved for years from her bakery job, finally visiting the London she'd seen in documentaries. Her excitement was palpable as she stood before Buckingham Palace, taking in the magnificent sight of the Queen's Guard in their iconic red tunics and bearskin hats. Like countless tourists before her, she watched with fascination as visitors playfully tried to make the stoic guards react, amused by their complete lack of response to any provocation. The incident that would change everything happened suddenly. In the crowded palace square, an unexpected tap on her shoulder triggered Karen's fight-or-flight response. Acting purely on instinct, she reached for the small pepper spray canister, a standard 2-ounce model common in America, and sprayed it directly at a guard's face. The result was immediate and shocking. The normally immovable guard coughed violently, his eyes streaming, while his fellow guards rushed to his aid. What Karen didn't fully appreciate in that moment was the profound cultural significance of her actions. Unlike American security personnel, who might physically intervene if threatened, the Queen's Guard are bound by centuries-old tradition to remain completely impassive. Her panicked reaction wasn't just rude, it was potentially criminal under British law, with penalties ranging from heavy fines to possible jail time. The aftermath became a powerful lesson in accountability. After being detained and questioned by palace security, Karen made the courageous decision to personally apologize to the guard she'd sprayed. In their private meeting, she saw past the ceremonial uniform to the human being beneath, a professional soldier who had suffered because of her thoughtless action. "I want you to know how deeply sorry I am," she told him sincerely. "I let fear override my judgment." Rather than retreating in shame, Karen channeled her remorse into positive action. She volunteered with London tourism organizations, helping educate visitors about proper royal protocol. Back in Indiana, she became an advocate for cultural awareness, sharing her story at community centers and senior groups. "I want others to learn from my mistake," she often says. "Respect isn't just about good manners. It's about understanding traditions different from our own." For mature American travelers, Karen's experience offers several profound lessons. Cultural preparation is essential. The guards Karen sprayed aren't just ceremonial figures. They're active military personnel upholding traditions dating back to 1660. Understanding this context might have prevented her mistake. Travel anxiety is real, but manageable. Karen's fear response in that crowded square overrode her normally cautious nature. Older travelers especially should practice techniques to stay calm in unfamiliar environments. True growth comes from owning our mistakes. At 58 years old, Karen could have returned home humiliated and silent. Instead, she transformed her error into an opportunity to educate others. The best travel experiences change us. Karen's trip didn't turn out as planned, but it gave her something more valuable: a new perspective on cultural sensitivity and personal responsibility. Today, Karen's story has taken on a life of its own. What began as a travel nightmare has become a powerful teaching tool about cross-cultural understanding. She's spoken to senior groups across the Midwest, emphasizing that it's never too late to learn and grow. "That moment at Buckingham Palace didn't ruin my trip," she reflects. "It gave me the most valuable souvenir possible, a lesson that changed how I see the world." For American travelers, especially those in their golden years, Karen's journey serves as both cautionary tale and inspiration. It reminds us that true travel isn't just about seeing new places. It's about opening our minds to new ways of being. And sometimes the most profound lessons come from our most uncomfortable mistakes. From panic to redemption, a tourist's journey of cultural awakening. The crisp autumn air carried the faint scent of fallen leaves as Karen stood transfixed before Buckingham Palace's golden gates. This moment represented the culmination of decades of dreaming for the 62-year-old retired school librarian from Boise, Idaho. Like many American seniors visiting London for the first time, she found herself mesmerized by the iconic Household Division Guards, their scarlet tunics, towering bearskin hats, and legendary discipline, making them seem more like statues than living soldiers. As Karen watched, a group of teenage tourists began testing the guards' famous composure, making exaggerated faces and fake sneezes. The scene reminded her of playful interactions with National Park rangers back home. When someone suddenly grabbed her shoulder from behind in the jostling crowd, years of American safety conditioning took over. Before rational thought could intervene, her hand closed around the compact 1.4-ounce pepper spray canister in her purse, the same model she'd carried during her nightly walks in Idaho. The consequences were immediate and severe. The sprayed guard's eyes swelled shut as he gasped for breath, his ceremonial rifle clattering to the pavement. Unlike U.S. security personnel who might physically restrain a threat, these elite soldiers are bound by tradition to never break formation, even when assaulted. Palace security officers swiftly detained Karen, explaining she had potentially committed a crime punishable by up to 6 months in jail under the 1847 Queen's Guard Protection Act. In the days that followed, Karen's journey took an unexpected turn. Rather than retreating into shame, the former educator approached her mistake with characteristic Midwestern humility. She penned a handwritten apology on stationery from her Kensington hotel, expressing particular remorse to the young guardsman, whose career she might have jeopardized. To everyone's surprise, the Household Division accepted her request for a face-to-face meeting. The encounter in the palace's Clarence Room proved transformative. Karen found herself sitting across from Guardsman Thomas Whitmore, a 24-year-old from Manchester, who had dreamed of serving the crown since childhood. Seeing the human face behind the ceremonial uniform changed everything. "I violated your dignity and your tradition," Karen acknowledged, her voice breaking. "No amount of regret can undo that." Moved by her sincerity, the Household Division offered Karen an extraordinary opportunity to work with their public outreach program, educating tourists about the Guard's historical significance. She spent the remainder of her trip distributing brochures at palace gates, explaining to visitors that these aren't costume performers, but highly trained soldiers maintaining traditions dating to the English Civil War. Back in Idaho, Karen turned her experience into a community education project. She now leads pre-travel workshops for local seniors at the Boise Public Library, covering everything from cultural preparation to managing travel anxiety. Her most popular session, "What I Learned from Pepper Spraying a Royal Guard," consistently draws standing room-only crowds. For mature American travelers, Karen's story offers profound lessons. Cultural context matters. The Queen's Guard represents 375 years of military tradition, not a tourist attraction. Understanding this might have prevented Karen's reaction. Travel requires adaptation. Safety behaviors appropriate at home, like carrying pepper spray, may be illegal or inappropriate abroad. Mistakes can become meaningful. At an age when many resist change, Karen demonstrated how humility and openness can transform failure into growth. Intergenerational understanding. Her connection with young Guardsman Whitmore bridged cultures and generations, showing our shared humanity. Now planning her return to London, Karen reflects, "That moment of panic became the most valuable lesson of my life. It taught me that real travel isn't about checking sites off a list. It's about checking our assumptions at the gate." Her experience stands as a powerful testament to the fact that personal growth doesn't retire at 65. Sometimes our most profound awakenings come when we least expect them. A transformative journey of cultural understanding. How one American senior's mistake became a lesson for all. Karen's hands trembled as she clutched her well-worn travel guide outside Buckingham Palace. At 65, this trip represented the realization of a lifelong dream for the retired nurse from Des Moines. The crisp London air carried echoes of history as she gazed at the household cavalry, in their brilliant scarlet tunics and plumed helmets, a sight far removed from the police officers she knew back in Iowa. Like many American seniors, Karen had packed her familiar 1.4-ounce pepper spray, a safety staple from her nightly neighborhood walks, never imagining it would become the instrument of her profound cultural awakening. The incident unfolded with terrifying speed. Startled by a jostling tourist in the crowded palace courtyard, Karen's survival instincts overpowered her rational mind. In a reflexive motion burned into her muscle memory from years of self-defense training, she deployed her pepper spray directly at a guardsman's face. The effect was catastrophic. The normally immobile soldier staggered backward, his disciplined composure shattered by searing pain. Unlike American security personnel who might physically intervene when threatened, these ceremonial protectors are bound by centuries-old tradition to remain motionless. A cultural nuance Karen tragically misunderstood. What followed became a masterclass in accountability and redemption. Facing potential charges under Section 12 of the London Tourist Code, Karen chose radical honesty over excuses. Her heartfelt apology letter, written on British Airways stationery during her extended stay, caught the attention of palace officials. They arranged an unprecedented meeting between Karen and the 22-year-old guardsman she'd sprayed, Lance Corporal James Pembroke, whose grandfather had served in the same regiment. Their conversation in the palace's Wellington barracks revealed surprising common ground. Karen spoke of her work protecting patients in the ER. James shared how his unit protects centuries of tradition. Both understood the weight of duty. "I violated your sacred trust," Karen acknowledged, tears streaking her cheeks. "But I promise to honor your sacrifice by helping others understand." True to her word, Karen transformed her mistake into a force for good. During her remaining weeks in London, she volunteered with the Royal Park Safety Program, using her medical background to help develop new crowd management protocols. Back home, she created Senior Savvy Travelers, a workshop series at her local community center that has since expanded to 12 states. Her most requested presentation, When Instincts Fail, My Pepper Spray Wake-Up Call, combines travel safety tips with profound lessons about cultural humility. For America's growing community of senior travelers, Karen's experience offers invaluable insights. The danger of assumptions. Cultural norms that seem universal, like self-defense practices, often aren't. The Queen's Guard's stoicism reflects 400 years of military tradition, not indifference. The wisdom of preparation. At an age when habits are deeply ingrained, Karen shows how pre-trip cultural research can prevent tragic misunderstandings. The power of contrition. Where many might retreat in shame, Karen's public accountability turned a personal failing into community education. The ageless capacity for growth. Proving it's never too late to learn, Karen's post-retirement journey demonstrates how travel mistakes can spark remarkable personal evolution. Now planning a return visit to London, this time to speak at a tourism safety conference, Karen reflects, "That moment of panic taught me more about myself than 50 years of routine ever did. True safety doesn't come from pepper spray, but from understanding the world beyond our borders." Her story has become required reading in senior travel clubs across America, proving that sometimes our most embarrassing moments become our greatest gifts, if we have the courage to face them. Life lessons from a travel mistake. Karen's story teaches us profound lessons that resonate at any age. First, cultural awareness matters. What seems normal at home may be offensive abroad. Researching traditions shows respect and prevents misunderstandings. Second, fear can cloud judgment. In unfamiliar situations, pausing to assess before reacting helps avoid regrettable actions. Most importantly, accountability transforms mistakes into growth. Owning our errors with sincerity, as Karen did, builds bridges and fosters forgiveness. For seniors, this story highlights that it's never too late to learn. Travel and life reward humility and curiosity. Missteps aren't failures, but chances to grow wiser. Karen's journey reminds us that true connection comes from respecting differences and that the greatest adventures often lie in the lessons we bring home. Whether exploring the world or navigating daily life, approaching others with an open heart and mind enriches every experience.